Hi, I'm Gosha. In this video I will be talking about healthy competition and why the phrase healthy competition is utterly wrong and what negative beliefs competition stems from and how is competitive mind causing loads of anxiety, loads of tension coming from that scarcity mind, and how can this be transformed in your life. I've been dealing with a lot of people who deal with a lot of anxieties, a lot of internal blocks, a lot of perfectionism and stuckness, even illness coming from that stress of showing up in this world. So I wanted to speak about that competition mindset and how this is utterly unhealthy to live in that frame of mind, and what will be the alternative, how you can shift your mind and how you can change the mindset of how you're showing up in this world, in your professional and in your personal life. I want to start by saying that the phrase healthy competition is utterly confusing because it's a collection of two words that are completely and utterly contradictory. Competition speaks about a large volume, the idea of large volume of entities or people or organizations competing against one another so that they can create some sort of success or win the race. And healthy, the word healthy speaks about equilibrium. It describes an idea of balance and a harmony and cooperation that is completely opposite from competitive. And I know that it's just another meaning of the word healthy in that economy mind. It speaks about marketplace, it talks about healthy economy, but I think it's a very unfortunate combination of words. And I thought about talking about this because it allowed me to explore the idea of competition. Thanks to being so unfortunate, it allowed me to explore the idea of competition in full depth when I started thinking about how unhealthy competition actually is. And this is what I wanted to share with you today. Because it's so unhealthy in its core, I can feel it in its energy. My body is very tuned in the words that how we use and the energy behind what it means and how it makes people contracted versus expanded. And the word competition is largely very contracted word. It makes people come from that scarcity mindset. Is based on the scarcity mindset and the belief that a handful of people, just a very few people, can enjoy success and happiness, and only by turning against one another they can win. They can get their little spot of success and laugh at all the rest that didn't get to manipulate things in the way as they did and perform in that exact way or in the way that would secure them the spot at the top. And healthy in the opposite way, it is something different. It's something of an expanded, more balanced energy. And funnily enough, as opposed to scarcity, health comes from belonging and having a place in a tribe and well communicated values and exchange of goods based on what we understand how the nervous system works amongst people, because we are social beings and we are actually the healthiest when we find ourselves in healthy relationships and when we maintain a cooperative and coherent exchange of energies between people. This is one of the top qualities of health. That's why I wanted to really bring this to your mind and show an absurdity of this phrase, not just to dismantle it, but to take it further and to get to the core of what competition is, what kind of feeling it causes in people, where it comes from, and what is the alternative. Well, the tension that it brings about comes from the idea of scarcity, whether you know it already or not. When you have grew up with the idea of scarcity, that you have to compete against your friends at school, for example, or when you go to a workplace and you have to compete against your colleagues, and maybe if you are bootstrapping your business, there's only space for a handful of people, or maybe one or two, and you have to be first or the best, or the ideas of that, and that there wouldn't be a space for you, and that makes people fear. That makes people tense and anxious, whether they're conscious of this or not. That's why people who want to succeed or want to create goals, maybe like yourself, maybe you have a vision or some change you want to bring about to this world, it probably makes you anxious a lot, thinking about a failure and what it would mean for you. Because based on the idea of competition, that would mean that you're going to fail, that you're going to be excluded from that community, tribe, or marketplace, or whatever you're competing, whoever you're competing against. That brings about a lot of fear of not belonging, of not succeeding, of not being happy. And that can take a lot of toll on your mental health, actually, to think that there is space only for just a few. You know what makes me laugh? I come from Poland, and there was a saying that parents used to threaten their kids if they were not performing well at school, or not choosing the good post-degree qualification or something like that, that either you perform well or you're going end up digging the holes in the roadworks by the motorway. And it's only either you succeed by getting good grades and being compliant and being obedient and getting success from that. Or, in other ideas, you could think about success or creating business or getting other forms of goals. Or the alternative is basically the most menial, the lowest paid job you can ever imagine, that you probably won't be even able to afford to pay your bills if you get that job. And that ultimately means total failure and maybe even death, like a threat of death for some people, that I can't even pay my bills, I can't put food on the table, right? So there was this threat that came from very parents and caregivers, and people at school were talking about this. And I thought it is very funny to bring this up, because that shows how big of a fear from failure we carry when we think about not performing well and being adequate to the degree that we gain some success and achieve our goals. That creates a lot of tension, like I said, and you probably felt that stress in yourself when something didn't go your way and maybe you were threatened not to meet those goals that you wanted to achieve, or perhaps you saw someone else performing better than you and you felt threatened by their success. Maybe you saw someone already having gone way higher than you did, and maybe they did it in a shorter period of time. That caused, again, a lot of tension, a lot of anxiety and stress, and maybe a lot of doubts about your self-worth and all those other things. This is an important thing to throw out there so you know what all energies come under a very innocent word of competition. And that's why, the very basis of the belief that is foundational to this competition is the idea of scarcity. The fear that success, happiness, and well-being is only reserved for the very few. Actually, this cannot be farther from the truth. And here's what I wanted to show to you so that you release some of that anxiety and start thinking about your mission in this world in a different place. You don't have to worry about being successful. The only thing you need to worry about, if that's a good word ever, is to be relevant. So to stop the loop of needing to be successful and fearing the failure and all that, ask yourself that simple question. How else can I become relevant to people that would receive my gifts, that would welcome my gifts? How else can I become relevant? And if you spend enough time on thinking about this, you can even pause to think some more. You have probably come to a conclusion that the answer is through contribution. People for many thousands of years have contributed with their service, with their gifts to this world as a way of exchange of values. When you live in a gift economy, this is the answer to all your problems, to all your anxieties about performance, about success. And thinking about relevancy starts with the answer that is contribution. When you start thinking in the mindset of contribution rather than competing against others, then you think about what you can bring in, not with whom you have to fight against so that you get your spot. You only start thinking, how can you contribute? And whatever passion is that you have to hone in, whatever gifts and services or products you want to offer, you're going to hone in when you think about that person that is going to meet them. All of a sudden, I can guarantee you that the fear and anxiety of performance will stop being a thing. It is not a thing because you embrace failure as a natural rhythm of refining your gifts to the other person, to a group, to an audience, to anyone, to the world. Because actually failure is not a problem anymore. You put yourself out there from the place where you're at with the gifts that you have to offer, and you ask for feedback. You ask if that's good for you. Is there something we can change, we can tweak? And then it's received better. It's being received better. And then you hone in some more and you ask some more questions. You have to be able to put yourself out there first. But when you start thinking about contribution from that frame of mind, then actually success is an organic process of contribution, co-creation, and simply sharing your gifts and receiving feedback from this. When you start showing up in this way, the anxieties calm down because the focus, the spotlight, comes away from your ego, comes away from you being threatened or being the successful person. The spotlight all of a sudden is on your work. The spotlight all of a sudden is on your creation. The spotlight is on the gift. It's not on you anymore. You are safe. And I hope you're seeing the distinction I'm trying to create. When you live in a service, then the spotlight is on that. You are safe, you can relax, and you can simply focus your energy on refining your gifts and sharing them as powerfully, as courageously as you can. And there is no time frame, and there is no threat of making mistakes, because mistakes are actually part of the curriculum. Failure is part of the curriculum. There is no problem with mistakes. They are part of refining of yourself. You don't have to worry about this anymore. This is what I call healthy. I don't call competition healthy. I know there is place for competition somewhere, but this is what I propose. And if you're willing to ask yourself a few questions about how am I showing up in this world and how can I show up from that space of contribution and co-creation and taking the spotlight off of me and putting the spotlight on my work and on my service, and radically take the health back. And if you can do that and take that spotlight away from yourself, from your ego, and away from fearing what is it going to do to you, start thinking about your work, start thinking about how you create. And the rest I will teach you in other videos. But only then you will make yourself really healthy, really balanced, really successful, and really achieved person.